Okay. And is your phone on, I'm just gonna make sure mine is actually.
Oh yeah, here I'll
Yeah.
put myself in focus mode. Perfect.
My kids have a way of like calling me at all the wrong times. So,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. Okay, well, let's get started, Chet. Landline for kids in three, two, one. And Tin Can founder Chet. Wait, Chet, hold on. I have to start again. Are you ringing in from Seattle? Because I was going to say
Yeah.
that, and then I just realized I didn't. I wanted to make sure. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Let's start again. Three, two, one. And Tin Can founder Chet Kittleson is with me now from Seattle. Welcome to Nina's Got Good News. Chet, how are you? How are you doing?
I I'm so good. Thank you for having me, Nina. This is so fun.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. Ever since I first started seeing tin cans showing up on my in my algorithm on my phone, I was like, wait a second, I've got to like take a deeper dive on this. Chet, tell us what exactly is a tin can phone?
Okay, so Tin Can, I have one right here. Tin Can, we call it the landline reinvented for friends. And so just like when you, Nina, and I were kids, we had a home phone that allowed us to call friends, family, etc. We wanted to bring that back, but we made it new again. And so the Tin Can, some differences between it and sort of an old school landline. It's Wi-Fi enabled, so you don't need a phone jack like we needed when we were kids. And then it has a bunch of parental controls. So things like tin cans can only call out to people that you approve. So as an example, my daughter Emma, her tin can can call me, my wife, my mom, her parents, and then all of her tin can buddies. And then there are things like quiet time. We call it shh mode, where if your kids go to bed at 8 p.m., you can have it just totally stop working after 8 p.m. And not work again until 8 a.m. or whenever you want it. Yeah, we just wanted to bring back something really simple to give kids the ability to connect with each other again.
I love it. It's so old school. It brings back so many memories. I can't even tell you. I was so excited when my parents put a phone in my room, a landline
Mm-hmm.
in I had my own phone in my bedroom, which by the way, I know my mom is listening. That was a bad idea, mom, but I loved it.
We
As a mom, I'm like, that was a bad idea. So how did you get the idea of starting an old school landline company, Chet? Because it's such a great idea.
I was gonna say, I installed the first probably 75 tin cans, and it was so funny to watch a parent negotiate with their kids where the tin can was gonna go. Was it in the kids' room? Was it the living room? Was it the kitchen? And every parent had a different philosophy. But yeah, super funny. So the idea for tin cans. So I have three kids, which is an important backdrop. I have Emma is 10, Thatcher is 8, and Sam is 4. I came up with the idea probably a little more than 2 years ago. And like most parents that have young kids, I felt really sandwiched between two problems. On one end, my 8 year old at the time, Emma, was starting to really itch for some autonomy. She wanted to plan her own play dates. She wanted to plan her own slumber parties. She wanted to tell her grandma about how her soccer game went. And so she started asking for our cell phone a lot. And we oftentimes said no. And obviously, there's all this data out there now about how cell phones are a little bit tricky, and maybe you want to delay giving your kid one for a billion different reasons. And so on one hand, I wanted her to have autonomy. On the other, I didn't want to give her a cell phone. And I had this conversation with a group of parents at school while our kids were playing one day, and made this realization that when we were kids, our first social network was the landline, and our
Hmm.
kids don't have access to that social network. Um, and I think I might be like, this might be revisionist history, but my memory is I said that. And then I literally said, wouldn't it be cool if, and I spelled out exactly what Tin Can has become. Maybe it was much more rudimentary and I'm just giving myself too much credit. But yeah, that's how the idea came to be.
I love that because I always love when there's a problem and then you come up with a product that is the solution to the problem. So I just think that's so awesome. Why do you think, in your opinion, why do you think your product has gone viral now?
I think there's a few reasons. One, I think people are very aware of the problem. We are not educating people on something they don't already know. Everyone who has young kids is actively trying to figure out how to navigate their child's relationship with technology, and they want their kid to feel connected. They don't want them to feel socially isolated. And then two, I think we had this insight really early that people understand and have very fond memories over the landline. And so we originally, when we were prototyping, we talked about building like a cute little white box that would have some pixel style display and have the same functionality. And when we first installed prototypes, the response from using an old school landline was so strong with parents, which I think I expected, but also the kids loved it. They would like they'd never seen one before. It was foreign. They didn't know how to use it. They would like pick it up and hold it backwards to their head. And so I think the combination of like the problem is known and there is no solution, and the solution we came up with was very well understood by our audience. Sort of set it up well to be, I don't know if we expected to go as viral as it has gone, but yeah.
And how are you convincing other parents that a landline is a better idea for kids instead of smartphones? Is that like a hard sell? Is that hard to convince people? Do you still have some naysayers out there, or how are you finding that?
I would say that right now I spend all of my energy on families that haven't yet made the decision to get a cell phone.
So
And
like a little younger, like what's the age
it's
with
we have kids as old as 15 and as young as 4.
okay.
But I would say the average is probably, yeah, in like the 7 to 11
Yeah.
range.
Yeah, that's
Um,
perfect.
and if there are progressive communities that, for different reasons have decided to wait until their kids are 16 and they come to us naturally, we haven't yet had to get to the point where I'm actively trying to like convince parents of a certain thing though. And when I think about what makes me excited about Tin Can, it is when I think about like kids who are currently 5 and 6 and 7, parents aren't even considering a cell phone for those kids yet. And if we can really penetrate that market with this device, by the time those kids are 10 or 11, they just won't have the same pain point that Nina, you experience with your kids who are now a little older, because they'll all have the ability to connect with each other. Um, and so, yeah, we really focus on the market of families, which is a lot of families that don't already have a cell phone.
Yeah, it's so smart. I really wish that you were around when my kids were younger. So good job, Chat. I'm excited
Thank you.
about this so much. How are you managing inventory? Because I noticed on your website the first two batches that you had available all sold out. So obviously, maybe take us back. Like, did that sell out in like 5 minutes? Was that crazy? And then how are you managing inventory going forward now that you've gone viral?
Yeah, we launched the new site with this product on April 30th in a pre-order state. Candidly, it was insane. We didn't do a lot when we launched the site. I think we all expected we'd have to turn it on and then, get fancy and do a bunch of ads and events and everything else. We had, I don't know, at the time, several hundred families that were using like our prototype version, which is the flashback, or what's become the flashback. And we sent them an email and said, hey, we've got a new site. You should share it with your friends. If you want the new tin can, we'll give you a big discount code as a thank you for being such an early adopter. And that was kind of it. And then, yeah, things started to skyrocket from there. And so, yeah, it sold out very quickly of the first batch, increased the, order size, sold out very quickly the second batch. And yeah, we picked a very good manufacturing partner that can, like, their volumes can scale sort of infinitely as we need them to. And so I do feel pretty good, but yeah, it's hard to keep up. We've got to adjust and sort of look at things every day and be like, how has the world shifted? How do we make sure that we're able to get these in the rooms of as many kids' bedrooms as want them as fast as possible?
Right, because obviously you don't want to constantly be in the sold out mode when people actually want your product. That's like a hard line to navigate for sure. Now, do you have investors, Chet?
We do. Yeah, we have been lucky to find very, very mission driven, mostly parent investors. That's really important. I've raised venture capital for a previous business, and that was much more, like commercial, I would say. Whereas this one, I felt like it's just important for each person that's involved, from someone on the team to someone on the cap table, an investor, for them to really understand what we're trying to do and to want the same change for the world. And so, yeah, we have been able to find partners that are helping us on that front.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, so with your three kids, obviously your oldest you said was is Emma. Have you mapped out sort of a plan for them? Like obviously they're using the tin can phone now, but have you mapped out a plan for them for a smartphone?
Um, this
At
is
least
an
for Emma?
interesting question, and I think it's definitely changed in the last year since we started working on this business, or 11 months, whatever it's been. Um, and so I'd say, like, I'm evolving every day here. I don't have a specific roadmap in my head for what happens next for her. I don't have any pressure from her because she goes home and she calls her friends and her friends call her. And so the pressure I felt a year ago has actually alleviated and gone away. Um, and yeah, so there's that. And I don't know, we're excited about, what we learn as our kids get older, as the founders, my co-founder has kids as well, and what we can build to help them navigate those transitions to the next steps. So, we'll see, but something that we think about a lot.
And how do you handle things like, say she's at someone's house or she's somewhere and she wants to tell you, like, come pick me up now, Dad? Is your solution to that is that you're telling people to get a watch, or what are your thoughts on that? Because
No, I don't.
you
I don't
can't bring
have.
the tin can phone with her, right?
Yeah, totally. I don't have a specific recommendation for other families. For my family, most like my kids are at people's houses that I know, and when they're ready to go, the parent will call me and say, "Hey, Emma's ready to come." And usually we organize that, and I tell them when I drop off, I'll be here at 5 to pick up Emma before dinner. And so that's still parent led.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we haven't felt that pain point yet.
Yeah, that's good. You'll get there. Just wait. Just
Yeah,
wait.
yeah.
Another thing that I really love about Tin Can, which I think about a lot because of my age, when we would when we would have to call someone, right? If I wanted to call my friend Susie, back when I was growing up, I would call the house and Susie's dad or Susie's mom would answer the phone and I would have to have, get this, Chet, watch out. I had an actual conversation. I
Mm-hmm.
know this is weird. This
Mm-hmm.
is so weird. My kids are like, what? You had to call people and talk to the parents? So, what I'm thinking about, another reason I love the tin can is because I worry so much for this generation that they don't really know how to have actual conversations. And one of the good things about Tin Can is that you are sort of promoting actual conversations. So I think that's really cool. And have you guys thought of that, like the way I'm thinking about it? Like, do you think this is going to actually help with having real conversations?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I would say that's one of my favorite things, and I've seen firsthand with my kids, and then with customers, the impact there. We have, um, kids who have autism that have a tin can, and their parents have texted me saying, "Oh my gosh, my kid's like really learning how to have a conversation." And then yeah, my kids learning how to have a conversation where you're stuck stationary to a phone that is plugged in. There's nothing to look at or do other than put it up to your ear. Um, my mom would be the largest advocate to say the conversation quality with my grandkids has skyrocketed because all they can do is talk to me. If
Mhm.
you've ever had a FaceTime call with a kid, it's a disaster. They're like, you can't hear them. They're moving the thing everywhere. They're looking at their forehead. It's really stressful. I actually like it's sort of anxiety inducing for me. And
Oh
this
my
is a
God, you know
very,
what else they do, Chat, is they put emojis. Like
yeah, they do like the
when
poop
my
emoji.
kids
Yeah,
call my mom on FaceTime, they put up all these like weird emojis and then they laugh the whole time. Like they don't even actually talk because they're laughing about the emojis. And then my mom is confused. She's like, what are they doing? It's like a disaster.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're excited about the voice only component, and that was important. We could have easily added a screen and had some ability to do texting, and that was a very intentional choice that we made from the get go. That voice is really important. We talk a lot about you talked about the other parent answering, and we want to do a lot more email communication with our customers, but we talk a lot about educating them on answering the phone as a parent. My daughter's best friend called her this morning as we were walking out the house, and I answered and I said, "Hey Maggie, Emma's about to head to school. I'll have her call you later." And she said, "Okay, thanks, Chet." And a lot of parents, I think by default, they're like, "Oh, well, this is the kid's phone." I'm like, "No, no, no. Treat it like a house phone. Answer it. The kid
Mhm.
wants a signal on the other end, and they have to learn how to communicate with an adult." It's also fun as a parent because it's cute to hear a 9-year old on the other end of the phone. So yeah,
So
the conversational component is very important.
yeah, that's so good. Oh my God, so good. Bravo. Okay, so many of us have been reading The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. I just love him so much. I love his book. I love everything he's doing and what he's done for, just looking out for all of our kids. So I was curious, have you been in touch with Jonathan Haidt? Does he know about your product? Has he given you guys any advice, or have you, just in general, have you been in touch with him about what you're doing?
Yeah, John has been an awesome resource. I got to meet him in person in Aspen, Colorado at this thing called the Ideas Festival. And so, yeah, he's aware of our product. His team is awesome. I'm really well connected to his chief of staff, who's just like the most delightful human being. And their focus is not on promoting a company. Their focus is on helping humanity understand the problem. And so I wouldn't ask them to do like, I want them to be sort of a Switzerland, if you will,
Yeah.
for this, but yeah, I have gotten advice from them. One example is I asked John about group calling, and he said three-way calling is great. More than that, it becomes performative, and you want to avoid a situation where kids are like left out or bullied because there's eight people on a phone and someone's getting laughed at. And so I do really like, I love, uh, they just have an interesting take on everything, and they're so smart in the way they think about things. And yeah, I think they're very supportive. That John talks a lot about the landline being a great solution. And they're, I think they're really excited about the way that we're approaching that problem.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so great. So what would you say right now is your biggest challenge so far? Is it keeping the inventory, managing the inventory, which we talked about earlier, or what exactly is your biggest challenge or has been? And then how have you been overcoming that challenge?
Um, I think my answer to this might be interesting and surprising. My personal as a founder challenge is the rate of change.
Mm,
Like when you're a founder of a company, your job is to always make sure your team has the right amount of people, the right amount of capital, that you're doing all the right things to handle whatever it is that comes your way. And I feel like every week I adjust for the new world, and the next week things have shifted again so much, so I have to adjust again, and that's really hard. I feel meticulous with hiring. I want to make sure that every person on this team is here for the right reasons, that they're mission driven, like I am, in a profound way. Like a lot of companies say they're mission driven. We're trying to change the world for the better. And you need incredibly competent people, but also really mission driven people. But also, things are moving so fast. And so there's this constant dynamic of like keeping up, but also making sure you're really careful with every decision. And so I would say for me personally, that's the one where like every night as I'm going to bed, I'm almost forcing myself to ask myself the question, what changed between yesterday and today? And am I adjusted correctly? And am I running the business the right way as the leader? Um, and then beyond that, yeah, I'd say, managing the supply chain and making sure that we deliver a magical experience for a fast growing, massive number of kids and families. I want every kid to open this box up and be like, holy cow, this is amazing. I want their first call experience to be amazing. Um, and navigating that is, I think we've done a good job so far. Just making sure that we ask ourselves the questions every day. Have we made the right decisions? Do we need to adjust? Are we well capitalized? All those things.
and have you started other businesses in the past, Chad? Are you super entrepreneurial in general, or what is your background exactly?
Yeah, I would say lemonade stand kid through and
Yeah.
through. Like from the time I was like literally doing lemonade stands, I started working when I was 14 at a Shell gas station because I was kind of by necessity. If I wanted things, I needed to have money to do it, and I had to work. Um, and so always been entrepreneurial. I did start another company. I was at Redfin for about 7 years. I was an entrepreneur within Redfin, so my main charter was to build new business lines within that company. And then I left there and started a company called Far Homes, which was a real estate marketplace, helping people with international home buying. Worked on that for a few years. And then in September of 2024, my co founders and I decided to spend our lives building Tin Can. And this has been by far the most magical journey of my professional. Like, it's not even a competition. It's been amazing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Also super meaningful now that you're a dad of three. It's so great.
Yeah.
So, do you have tips for in general, just because you're so immersed in this space, do you have good tips to share with all of us for phone life balance? What are your thoughts on that?
You just to clarify, you mean for kids or for adults or for
I would
both?
say for all of us. I recently went to an event in New York City. It was sponsored by Verizon, and Mel Robbins was the guest speaker. And she talked all about phone life balance, not just for her kids who are older than mine, even hers are in college, but it was so great. She also offered great tips for all of us because I realized too, and Mel pointed this out. It's always been on my mind, but if we're trying to think about what our kids are doing, we also need to be thinking about what we're doing. Meaning, like she was using the example at like the dinner table. If we're all at the dinner table and we don't want our kids on their phones, then we have to set the example by us putting our phones away first and then also, modeling that for our children. So I thought it was really interesting. So I was just curious if you think about that too, just for
So
all of
my
us.
best my best life hack here is I think it's true on Android too, but certainly on iPhone, there's a mode called driving mode. The cool thing about driving mode, and you can put it in driving mode whether or not you're driving, is it sends an auto reply
Mm-hmm.
text. And so what I do when I'm at home, if I want to be really intentional with the kids between usually the hours of 5 and bedtime, 8 or 9, is I put my phone in driving mode. I have the text say, right now it says, "Hey, I'm currently in tin can mode," which means I'm really focused on being with my kids and with my wife. If you need me, call me. And it'll ring through my tin can, which is something that we're sort of playing around with for ourselves. Otherwise, I will get back to you when I'm back online. I think the hard thing for parents is it feels binary. You're like, I'm either completely disconnected and then I worry I missed something. And that's a whole stressor and anxiety inducing thing in and of itself. Or I have my phone on me and I'm addicted to checking it. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling guilty about being with the kids. The nice thing about this driving mode life hack is you're letting the world know I'm here. I'm not ignoring you, but I'm really focused. If you need me, here's a way to get me. Otherwise, like, let me be present with my kids right now. So that's been pretty effective for me. There's also lots of tools. There's a company called Brick that I like. I have their product. It's a physical like square magnet device, and it's called NFC technology. It pairs with an app. You like tap your phone on it, and it basically like turns a bunch of apps on your phone off. There's a lot of stuff like that. But for me, it's all about balance and setting
Yeah.
boundaries with your people, like your colleagues, etc. I remember when I worked at Redfin, every time I got a promotion, every time. I would send an email to the hiring manager and usually to the CEO, Glenn, who's amazing. And I would say, I want this promotion. I'm ambitious. I want to grow with the company. Here are my limitations. And I
Mm-hmm.
have these emails. And I would say, I can't really travel for work. I really want to be home with my kids. I can't be the guy that works Saturdays and Sundays. I coach soccer. I coach baseball. I want to be able to do those things. If I'm not a fit based on these things, I actually 100% understand. If this is okay, I'm ready to take the role. And they would reply. And it was like a contract. That's really hard for people to do. It took a lot of confidence. I understand I have privilege being, maybe like being a white male. There's a lot of things that might be hard for a lot of people to do. Um, but it made it where I could set boundaries and I could not answer on Saturday or at 8
Yeah.
p.m. at night or whatever. And so it does take a lot of investment. But if you make the investment, it makes things a little bit easier.
Oh, it's so good. I love the boundaries, and the driving mode tip is awesome too. It's so super helpful. So also, since you are so immersed in this space, I am feeling like the pendulum is swinging back to sanity. Just for example, like when my kids when they were getting their first phone, at age 13, which by the way isn't even that late, but it felt late. There was a lot of pressure. Both my kids were the last of all their friends to get the smartphone at age 13. There was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pressure on me as the mom, my husband, and there was pressure on my kids, like, why don't you have a phone? But now I'm just feeling like, because I have friends with younger kids, that the pendulum is swinging slightly. It might be slow and slight, but I do feel like it is. There's not as much pressure. There's more research coming out every single day, like we've talked about, that is showing parents, like giving them a wake up call, like it's okay to delay the phone, delay the social media. But are you feeling that pendulum swinging back to sanity also, or is it just me?
No, 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 100%. I mean, maybe that's the third thing I should have talked about when you said, why'd you go viral? But I think we're absolutely in the middle of a cultural shift. And John and his team, John Haidt and his team are absolutely a part of creating that shift. There's just such an awareness now that this is sort of unhealthy. And I would say it's almost become the cool thing to wait.
Hmm.
I think parents who have those young kids that are deciding to get a cell phone, which by the way, no judgment, every single family has got their own situation. But I think those families are now in some communities starting to feel pressure to not get a cell phone, even though for them, they're like, this feels like the right solution for us. And candidly, Tin Can wants to be at the forefront of helping that pendulum continue along its journey to what I'd call a more balanced center. But we want to provide people with something they can say yes to,
Hmm.
because saying no and leaving your kid isolated, in my opinion, is just as dangerous as giving them a phone, or as waiting to give them a phone till they're 14, or sorry, as giving them a phone early. I think you need something. Your kids need to be connected. They should not be isolated. A 10-year old should have the ability to plan a play date or to call her grandma.
Right. Well, it's
Or
also good too, and Jonathan talks about this too. He's doing this whole push on social media about, making sure your kids are independent. Because
yep,
Chet, like when you and I were growing up, it was so different, right? Like, I'm older than you, but for instance, like my parents would be like, go outside to play and like come home for dinner. And they didn't really know where I was. There was so much
totally.
independence. And Jonathan has talked a lot about how that's kind of changed now. Like everything is so structured, not giving your kids that independence can be actually a bad thing. So I think it's really good that you're fostering that independence too.
Totally. Lenore, I can't her, I think it's Lenore Skenazy from Let Grow. She's a good partner to John. And she's really like I think she's the head of the free range childhood movement. And she's also done a ton of awesome work to educate folks on the importance of letting your kid put themselves in a situation that might feel a little bit scary so that you can build that trust with them and so that they can build that trust with themselves. I remember, gosh, I have a million memories being a kid. I mean, I was like totally on my own. I'd go out and just like knock on friends' doors. I'd usually call them from my home phone and be like, "Can Ryan play?" But like we'd get into trouble, and there's a scene from the movie The Sandlot where the mom, I always remember it. The little boy is like playing with his like marble set or whatever. They just moved, and she wants him to make friends. And she has this quote like, "Go outside, get into trouble for crying out loud." And it's like you got to get in trouble. You got to go do stuff. It's how you learn your own boundaries and you learn that you can like do more than you thought. And yeah, if a kid is like everything is, yeah, it's important. It's important.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God, we got into a lot of trouble, so that's good.
Yeah.
Give us some specifics if you have like, do you have success stories from customer feedback? Can you share some of those with us?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so many. I would say the most impactful part of this business to me, and maybe why it's like I'm reminded every time I look at hiring a new person, how important it is that they understand the mission and they want to be here for the right reason is because we get stories every day. There's a I can't remember what state they live in, but there's a customer who has a 4-year-old. Every morning, the 4-year-old calls the 72-year-old neighbor who lives on his own on her tin can and says, "Hey, can you come over and play?" And she sent us a bunch of videos of this 72-year-old opening a little fence latch, and her 4-year-old is standing on they have like a little bench, like grabbing at his pockets, and they become like really good buddies. And the mom was like, "This has been such a powerful thing." Um, my kids, I think I'd say that their number of play dates have probably tripled since before they had Tin Can. And there's actually a really funny thing happening right now where one of their friends just moved to another area of the same city. We're in Seattle. And they're like getting internet and haven't set up their Tin Can yet. And Emma's like totally disconnected from her. And that was the friend she talked to every day. And so I texted them this morning and said, "Hey, like, is your internet back on?" Emma's like killing me right now. She wants to be able to talk to tomorrow. And they're like, "Yes, we're going to do it today. We just got the internet back." But now she's like leaning into other friends, and so that was a nice example of like this is how she's connected to these people. We have a There was a mom I talked to. She was one of our first moms that I didn't know, so I set up her tin can a year ago. She was a friend of a friend of a friend that said, "Hey, I want this thing for my kids." And she texted me and she saw a news story and said, "I'm so glad you guys are doing so well." And I said, "Hey, how's Tin Can going? You're one of my oldest customers. You've had it for a whole year." And she was like, "I mean, A, they still use it every day. And B, she had the story of this last weekend. Her son called one of the neighborhood friends and said, 'Can you play?' And the neighborhood friend said, 'I have to clean my room.' And 10 minutes later, her son was over at the kid's house helping clean the room so that they can start their play date. So yeah, there's stories. I mean, every day we have stories.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my God, I love that. That's so good. Keep that going, right?
Yeah.
So I did see you on national television on the Today Show. What was that experience like for you?
So fun. It's really
Awesome.
cool. It's really cool to be able to get my family involved. I feel a little careful, like all parents do, about like having them in the public eye. But also they're so pivotal to the story. Like they've helped design the phone. They like held it. Like the size of the phone is sort of like based on their hand sizes. They helped me deliver the first batch of tin cans. My son Sam, I have a million pictures of him. Like he'd get out of the car and he was 3 at the time, and he would walk up their front step and like set it down, and I'd take a picture, and then I'd send him a picture being like, "Hey, your tin can's on your front step." Um, and so it was really fun to get them involved and for them to be able to like, yeah, their friends got to be there. And then yeah, this is all new to me. I've been a founder, I've been on podcasts, but yeah, being on national news and understanding what that process is like and watching like the producers and the cameramen, like the art and science that is the news. It was like so fascinating and it was delightful. I had my team over on Monday, which is when it aired, and I made them breakfast. I made a bunch of omelets and scrambled eggs and stuff, and we like watched it together. And yeah, that's it's super fun.
Oh, that's so awesome. And I'm sure you got a lot more interest on your website, a lot more traffic on your website after that for sure. It's so great. So, Chet, what's next for Tin Can in Q4? What do you
Well,
have?
holidays. So right
Yeah.
now we are gearing up in a big way to make sure that we can meet at least as much of the moment as we possibly can over the course of the holiday season. I think I've got my sight set on a lot of kids over the course of that Christmas to New Year's week, setting up and making those first calls on their tin cans. Um, so yeah, Q4 very much focused on just making sure that we are set up to deliver a lot of tin cans um, and that the experience of those kids is magic.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how can everyone follow along? Give us your website. And I assume your Instagram is probably the best social media.
Yeah, yeah. So website tincan.com, tincan.com. And then our Instagram is, I think our handle is tincan.kids.
Yeah.
If you Google search Tin Can, we actually come up usually first, which blows our minds. So that should work too. But yeah, tincan.com and you'll find us there.
Oh, that's so great. Well, I'm so excited about this product. Like I said, I just wish you were around when my kids needed you, but I'm so excited to share all your good advice, your good idea here, and your good news with all of our listeners and all of our followers. I think it's so great. And I'm super passionate about this topic. So, Chet, just know that moms and dads everywhere are cheering you on. And
Oh,
we all of us are giving you a big high five because this is so needed for all of these kids. They need you. So you're meeting that moment for sure, Chet. So great job and thanks again
thank
for
you.
coming on.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, thanks guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Great job, Chet. You're a natural. Really good. I can't believe you're like haven't really been doing that many of these because you know what you're doing.
That's all Olivia.
No,
She's my ghost
Have you
writer.
been training him, Olivia?
maybe.
She whipped me into shape.
No, thank you so much, Nina. This was really fun. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
you
I can't
guys are
wait to listen
great.
to
Chet,
it.
I would just encourage you to do more because again, Chet, if you don't want to travel, which I totally understand, I think that's a great boundary that you've set. But I think a great way for you to reach more people is to do, more podcasts, more like live webinars.
Totally.
Remember too, Chet, I think it's important too, like on this topic, you are an expert now. Like this is a really hot topic that so many people need help. They feel lost, they feel pressure, they don't know what to do. No one knows what to do, right? But to have people like you that this space so well now, doing more things that you can do from home, like webinars or whatever it is, just to reach more people, I think could be awesome. So just encouraging you to
Yeah,
do
thank you,
more
Nina.
public speaking on this topic. It's great.
I really genuinely appreciate it, and I think Olivia and I both agree. We're both pretty excited to start to be a little more present.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, thank you
Okay,
so
good.
much,
And
Nina. I
if there's
appreciate you.
anything I can ever do to help, just let me know. And
Thank you.
it was so nice to meet you guys. This we're gonna edit and then it should be out next week. So
Cool.
Cool.
I'll keep you posted once it's ready to go. Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds
All
good.
All
Thank you,
right.
right.
Nina.
Thanks,
Thank
guys. Have a
you.
great day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.